Hello everybody and welcome to Let's Get Creative. We're here in the Neiman Art Studio at Children's Discovery Museum, and today we are exploring painting with a variety of paint, materials, paintbrushes, and techniques. Well, let's go check out the materials we have today. So what you're going to need for this is paint. What we have here are primary colors. We have red, blue, yellow, and then also white. When these come together, you'll see that they make secondary colors. And then white, when added to any color, makes a tint. This is a great discussion point as your child paints with these primary colors. You can ask them, what color does yellow and red make? What did you make with blue and yellow? What happened when you added white to blue? So, for your painting, you're going to need a variety of painting tools. Now, we're lucky here at the Neiman Art Studio. We have a wide variety of painting tools. So we have flat, wide brushes, foam brushes, different bristle brushes, flat and round, and smaller, finer brushes, brushes with good grips, handles on them, even a paint roller, and this really fun spongy tool. Now, you can use almost anything to paint with, right? And I'm going to show you some examples of tools you can make if you don't have a paintbrush or if you want some variety to your painting tools. So these are very simple tools made out of cardboard. You can use these when you're painting the surfaces of your objects, and they're made out of simple cardboard, like I said. You can create different shapes and handles. You have a triangle, circle, and then you can even create your own paintbrushes. This is a very simple thing that I whipped up and just using tape and cardboard and scissors and creating your own painting tool. And we're going to see how these look on the surfaces of our objects as we start our painting. Before we get started on our actual painting, I'm going to show you a variety of surfaces that you can use just in listing simple objects at home. So here's our go-to cardboard. Everybody's really familiar with cardboard. We've been using it a lot. This is a really great box because it has a lot of flaps and it's big. It has a nice surface area. Here's a panel of cardboard. There are two pieces actually here that it stands up on its own. And it's nice and long for long paint strokes. And then I have a circle I cut out of cardboard. And I don't know if you have paper bowls around the house, but these are super fun. Look what you can do with just putting some paper bowls together. You have a fun sculpture you can paint. Now, before you paint that, I would suggest gluing it together, or you can leave it free form. It's going to be a little bit more challenging if you move your paintbrush around, and if you want it to stick together, make sure you put some adhesive in between the pieces before starting. We have kind of a leftover object that I started painting, and then a pine cone. There are a lot of pine cones soon to be found outside, and then a cardboard box. This is an example of when we actually did this project in the art studio. Now you'll see these two giraffes. This was a sculpture that I created using wood and actually plastic giraffes. And this is one of the objects in the art studio that our visitors got to paint, and you'll see the really lovely layers of paint. All right, everybody, are you ready to do some painting? Let's get started. All right, so I'm gonna take my paintbrush and just start painting. And I'm going to use different paintbrushes for different colors. So use my red one. I'm using my foam brush for blue. And I'm going to use my roller for white. What's happening to the colors is you add white. And then as you use the roller, what happens when they come together, the red and the blue and the white? You notice anything? And one other thing to talk about is the difference in the paintbrushes, right? This is a really wide, a lot of bristles on this paintbrush, and then here's a little one. It's a different experience that you have, right? When you're painting with a smaller paintbrush, a thinner paintbrush, as opposed to a thick, wide paintbrush. Now I'm going to take this really fun spongy brush and I'm going to mix some colors. So I'm going to take a little bit of yellow and actually a little bit of red, and I'm going to mix them right here. You can also mix them directly on your surface. And this is a spongy surface. You could recreate something like this at home using a sponge, right? So you'll notice that when you mix red and yellow, you got orange. What about blue and yellow? So I'm going to take a little bit blue, put it here. A little bit of yellow here. Actually more yellow than blue. When you're mixing colors, you add the darker to the light color. Let's try that now with blue. Okay. Ooh, that's a nice kind of lime green. I'm gonna take my roller again. You can start mixing up all the colors. Now let's try some handmade tools here. This is a simple piece of cardboard with a simple cardboard handle. It's a triangle shape. We'll see what we get. You rub it in the paint. And stamp it. We've got a little bit of a triangle there. What about this fun, simple kind of paintbrush tool here? Let's see what happens when we apply paint with this one. Interesting. Do you have any ideas of what you can make for a homemade tool? Let's see how this one goes. This is experimental. It's a bowl with a little handle on it. Let's see what happens. interesting. It's kind of fun. What kind of tools can you make at home to paint with? And you can also find natural objects to paint. Remember this pine cone I showed you? This is super fun to paint. You can take a smaller brush, go in between. And on until you are satisfied. And then you can let this dry and paint it the next day with different colors. So you can combine drawing and painting together on these surfaces. This circle shape really lends itself nicely to a spiral. You can start in the middle with a black marker, any kind of marker that you have. And now you have a fun drawing to try and paint within the lines or over, your choice. I'm going to take my wider paintbrush and kind of follow that spiral. It's fun. You can start with one color, two colors, as many colors as you like. Do layers of colors, experiment with your different types of paintbrushes. See, when the white and the yellow mix together, you get a tint of yellow, a light yellow. It's kind of fun to see how the colors mix on the surface, right? Bit of orange now, almost looking like a sun here. See that? I'm kind of getting a peachy color. It's really fun to experiment with the colors that you have and see again how they blend together as you continue the painting process. Again, when this dries, you can add another layer of paint to it and you can continue on and on until you are happy with your finished product. So one way to prepare surfaces like plastic and maybe raw wood is that you could add a layer of white paint, or you could add gesso to create kind of a surface that's easy to paint and easy for the paint to adhere to it. But gesso is kind of aromatic and pungent for the little ones, so I would suggest a white paint. If you want to start with a blank canvas that doesn't look like cardboard, if you want more contrast with colors, you can enlist your little one to paint the surface of your cardboard or any other object white if you want to start that way. It's just a suggestion. So for this, what I did is I created a sculpture and glued the pieces together and then coated the entire surface with couple of layers of gesso. Now this is something that you can find at an arts and crafts store or online gesso. Or you can just use a white tempera paint or acrylic paint. And you'll see the surface here is white. When you start with a white surface as opposed to cardboard surface, you're going to see kind of like an immediate contrast, right? If you use red. And then, as we talked about before, you can continue to add layers of color to your surfaces, your objects, right? So this was painted over a series of weeks, days, and I'm going to add a little bit of color to it now, so you'll see you can continue to paint. After you've left your objects or your surfaces to dry, right? And this I did put a little bit of gesso. It could have used another layer, but I'm just going to show you the paint kind of adheres to it. And the kind of surface it creates. Now, one thing you can do is if you have a tray of paint that you got started and you want to come back to it, you can cover it with a layer of plastic wrap, right? Or if you're done for the day, you can just mix the colors up, see what you get, and paint. It'll be your last hurrah of painting for the day. If you decide tomorrow you want to use a whole new palette, you can just also experiment with mixing the colors in the tray too, right? And give you some ideas of maybe the colors you want to mix the next day when you do your painting. It's kind of fun. Thank you everybody for joining us today. I had a great time with you, and I hope you'll join us again. Happy painting. Bye everybody.
Thank you for watching our virtual Purple Museums broadcast. Our fall broadcasts are every Tuesday and Thursday on Facebook and YouTube. Visit us online and in person. Bill's Backyard, the museum's outdoor space, is open every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Stay in the loop by joining our email list. Visit www.cdm.org for more information.